Good morning, good morning. I'm sitting here at the beach. The ocean is dazzling. It's gorgeous. I'm wondering if you guys can hear me. Let me turn this just in case. I know sometimes at the beach with the wind and stuff, it's hard to hear. So anyhow, the water it's dazzling. It's like crystals. See if I can show it to you. Hold on a second. You guys can see. Sometimes, anyhow, hope that you guys got to see that, take that in. So, I have some good things that I want to share with you guys, some takeaways that you guys can use right now. Hi! What's going on? How are you? So, hi Gian. So when you get on, say hello so that I can say hello back to you. So glad that you guys are on here, tuning in. I was just sharing that I have some takeaways that I've been reflecting on, all about relationships. And what I mean by relationships is, yes, of course, we can apply this to relationships, meaning our love relationships, whether it's romantic, whether it's with a friend or a family member. But just the fact that like all of our life is a relationship, right? Relationship is about this kind of what I call the two space, which the number two, by the way, and this is kind of a little bit of a tangent, but just stay with me. Like there's no such thing as the two space, right? Like there's one, which is unity consciousness, meaning God consciousness. Like we're all the same, we're all one, right? And then when we introduce somebody else, when we introduce something else into the scenario, we have two, but that doesn't last, right? Like there's always the relationship, right? That then ensues because there is that the one and two then automatically becomes three, right? Which is this concept of the Trinity, which is, mind, body, and spirit. Like we see the three space everywhere. It is the number that represents transcendence, right? The all that is. So this is what I want to jam about. So meaning you can apply this to anything that you are in relationship to. And this also is about like how we are co-creators, meaning like it's me, right? Like for example, me, whoever me is, my ego, Stephanie, this identity that I've created, being here in a physical body, right? But then there's also, the God part of me, the divine part of me, right? And then there is the relationship between the two, right? So that's that three space that we're always like, that's the goal, right? It's cultivating the relationship that we have between anything. Okay, so this is what I want to share with you guys. Just going to jump right into it. So in reflecting about my relationship, in specifically my romantic relationship. Excuse me, I had a call there. So, it's something that I'm tuning into like how I want to, okay, this is how we're going to go with it. So, my relationship is something that I've been in, for a while, right? And something that has so been my guiding light has been, what has brought me through, which has created miracles, which has brought me to the place of just connection and orientation, and fulfillment, right? That I'm at today is always tuning into my heart, right? And so for those of you that know me personally, those of you that have been following me and my story, I'm not one to shy away from the real and the raw and the truths, right? I've specifically shared about my relationship, here on the Facebook lands. And it hasn't always been easy, right? We've been together for almost 20 years, and we've gone through quite a few challenges, in that time. And we've also broken through, through a lot of what I would call challenges, right? Which is, anytime that we're desiring something in our life and we don't have it, right? Like, we consider that a block. We consider that a limitation. And this is, okay, so here it is. Now it's coming in. So we always want to ask ourselves, like, come into the heart, right? And because the heart never lies, right? Like, this is where divinity lives inside of us, is in our heart. And so you got to ask yourself, do I love this or do I not love it, right? And it's a simple, and this is the tantric path, by the way. And the thing about the tantric path is that it's wild, right? It's uncontrollable. You don't get to dictate it, right? It's something that is, and that's the beauty of it, and that's like what allows you to experience true romance with life, right? Is this place of uncertainty, right? Like, the only certainty that you have is what your heart is telling you, right? And so when you can come into, and I mean this in relationships, so take whatever it is that you are in relationship to, meaning something that you're wanting, something that you're desiring, something that you want to bring into manifestation, that you want to see made real in your external reality, okay? So hand over your heart, and do I love this? And it's a simple yes or no, right? And because the heartbeat, it's about presence, right? It's like, it's here in this moment right now. That's the only time that you're going to get your true answer, is right now in this moment. Meaning, you could put your hand over your heart and say, do I love this thing? Do I love this person? Do I love, and what I mean by love is meaning, are the feelings there? Hey, what's up, Stephanie? Or, did you change your name, by the way? Thanks for tuning in. So when we put our hand over our heart, right, and it's in that moment, right, meaning it's all we have is now, right? So it's bringing us into the now. The thing with this is that in one moment you could get a yes, and 2 seconds later, 3 minutes later, 1 year later, you could get a no, right? And it's not our job to try to control that, right? Our only job is to listen, right? Because we are the receivers, we are the conductors, we are the co-creators of this divine impulse coursing through our bodies, right? And when we get off, right, when we're not in alignment, when we're off course, when we're not feeling good, we're just not listening, right? Like, and this is why I wrote this post that's just a few minutes ago about the like button, and how the like button, metaphorically is like, how we get off when we're really not listening to our heart, and we're just like halfway in, right? We're half-hearted about something. It's like, yeah, I kind of like it, or, yeah, I'm just going to kind of go through the motions, or, it's because we get into these patterns of really not listening and trusting to the heart, right? So it's kind of like we build up this crust, we build up this resistance, this blockage to really listening to our hearts. It's like we've got this filter in the way around, what is truly in alignment for us and what isn't. So, and this is why, if more people in the world were doing this, there would be, the world would be in a different state than it is in today, right? So coming back to, it's in this moment, hand over my heart, do I love this person, right? And how many times have I, said this and asked this of myself in relationship to my man, right? It's like, no matter what was happening in the external, no matter, how unhappy I was, or heartbroken, or whatever, right? Like, my job, because it's my relationship to this thing, meaning my love to this person, my love to this thing, right? Is, do you love it or you don't love it, right? And so as long as I got my yes, it was this orientation, a direction for me to say, I stay for my love. I am committed to my love. It doesn't matter what's going on out there, right? Because that is the illusion, that is the matter, that is the Maya, it's the moon, right? And all of this is what I am teaching in The Galaxy is My Runway, which is my course that is just so fucking amazing. And I know it's so fucking amazing because I've used this so many times to get to the place that I'm at today. I've used it with hundreds of other people in order for them to experience breakthroughs in their life. And I teach you all of those processes as well as hold group coaching space for you guys. And it's just so amazing. It's all about working with the moon, right? And the moon is all about relationship, right? It's the two space, it's the mirror, it's the reflection, right? But it's also training yourself to see how we recreate our lives unconsciously, meaning we recreate situations and scenarios, and we even create things, right, based upon our subconscious programming. And because it's subconscious, meaning it's below the level of our awareness, we're not even aware that we're doing it. And because we're not aware that we're doing it, it's the wound, right? It's the sacred wound of humanity. We each have our own unique wound. And I get into this specifically as to like what these core wounds are, because each and every one of us has a specific, and of course there's nuance, and of course there's a whole story that's wrapped up in it, but there's all of these different wounds, right? And this is how we connect to our tribe. It's how we connect to our people, right? And so for a really, really long time, my wound, and my wound still is, and we never lose our wound. Like, that's the beauty of it too, is we get to learn to love our wounds, right? Because that's the shadow, right? That is the Maya, is when we embrace our shadow, when we embrace that wound, that's how we transcend the pattern altogether. And so one of my wounds was rejection, right? So always, always, always feeling rejected by my father, feeling rejected by, you know, the man in my life who I chose to be in relationship to, right? But when I would put my hand over my heart, right? And this is how you transcend the pattern, is in my relationship to this person, to this place, to this thing, do I still love them? Do I still love you? Do I still love, right? And you get a yes or a no. And so here's the beauty of this is nobody can ever take away the relationship that you have to something. That person could die. That person could break up with you. They could cheat on you. They could do, you know, all of these things. And this is kind of going into like emotional abuse, right? Any sort of emotional abuse, you know, where you're experiencing that person, quote unquote, not loving you, right? It's always something that we allow, and we allow it because of the wound that we have, right? Because it justifies that story. It's the subconscious playing out, right? So you transcend all of that when you tune into your relationship to this thing. Do I love this thing or I don't love this thing? And it's a yes or no answer that the heart gives you without fail, if you have the courage and the willingness to listen to it and face that truth, right? And so once you get that yes or no, right, you now have direction. You now have orientation. You now know, all right, this is what I'm going to do based upon if I love this thing, right? And so whenever I would get this yes, right, and here I am 20 years later, you know, up until this point, I've always gotten my yes, right? And so, okay, so now that this is my yes, this is the relationship that I have, right? What does me cultivating that relationship to my love, what does that look like, right? What would I love to do, right? And so use this in relationship to anything, right? Whether it's a person, whether it's a business, whether it's a family member, whether it's a home, whatever it is that you're desiring, that you're wanting. Maybe it's money, maybe it's more money, maybe it's a better body, whatever it may be, right? And so here's the thing, is that if you truly love something, right, it's unconditional. And this is like where it just gets really cool, and where you can let go of control, right? Where you let go of fear, right? Because when we're controlling something, when we want it to be a certain way, when we're only loving it if it does this, like, I'm only going to be in relationship to something if it looks like this, if it does this for me, if it gives me the money that I want, if it gives me the validation that I want, if it loves me back, right? You know, that's conditional, meaning, and that's not love, right? Because if it's conditional, it's kind of like this codependent thing where it's like, I need this thing to do this for me in order for me to show up, right? And so by definition, that's not love, right? So when you come back to that place of unconditional love, and this is my relationship to this thing, right? Like, you then allow it, you allow the creative process to begin, right? You allow something to be born and see it for what it truly is, not what you want it to be in order to make you feel better about yourself, not what you want it to be so that you can have emotional fulfillment, right? But like, in really loving this thing, and really, it's kind of like, for those of you that are mothers, for those of you that have had children, and I just use this example because it's like, it's why I've named my group the Mother Love-a-ship, right? Because our first love is always our mother, right? Like, it's this place of unconditional love. We're all children of God, right? We're all children of Gaia, right? And it doesn't matter what we are. It doesn't matter what we do. It doesn't matter how far we can go off our alignment. It doesn't matter what we look like, the color of our skin, our sexual orientation, you know, how much money we have in the bank. She will always love you unconditionally. And it's like that. It's like, when I look at my children, there's nothing that they could do, there's nothing that they could say that would make me stop loving them. So when you tune into this remembrance that you are unconditionally loved, you are always connected, regardless of what your biology in that moment might be directing you towards, or what the external reality wants to show you. When you tune into your relationship to that which you desire in an unconditional way, you allow it to take on a life of its own. And this is something that, you know, as a mother, and I've seen this like in people in relationships that bring them sense of suffering, right? Is when, you know, if their children are suffering, right? It's like, then they're suffering, right? It's because they need their children to be safe. I need anything outside of me to be and look a certain way in order for me to be okay, right? And that's conditional. That's codependency. That's not authenticity, right? And so this is what I'm bringing you back to, is when you really get clear and honest with your relationship to something, nobody can ever take it away from you. It's always about, well, how do I feel about this thing, right? And what do I want to do in order to cultivate it, right? When I really am stepping out of the shadow, when I'm stepping out of the lens of the Maya, when I'm stepping out of the subconscious, and I can see something for what it really is, not the reflection, right? And again, this is what I teach you in The Galaxy is My Runway. And in so many ways, right? Like, this influences our menstrual cycle. It's actually how we create our body and what our bodies look like. Even our fashion, meaning the way that we choose to adorn our bodies with clothes. This is all soul couture, what I call soul couture, meaning it's like how we adorn, it's how we design, it's how we style our life, right? But if we're styling and adorning our life based upon the subconscious, it's not who we really are, right? And that's how we get mediocrity in the world, meaning we get people doing things that look the same, right? We're not really crafting or developing the multifaceted heart, right? And again, this is why I go into fashion and how fashion is spiritual. Beauty, what beauty really is, understanding your menstrual cycle, your emotional cycle, the moon, whether you know your moon sign or not, this works. Though if you do know your moon sign, that's really, really helpful. But I just want to clarify that because I've had some people reach out to me. They're like, well, what if I don't know what my moon sign is? It's fine. You don't need that, right? Because the truth is it's your energy over everything, right? It's like listening to the divine in you over everything, right? And even astrology, can be, because it's about time, right? Even that is an overlay, right? And we can use that when we get lost to orientate ourselves, but it's never meant to be anything that keeps us separate from that knowing, right? So I just wanted to put that in there, that I use astrology and I work with the moon in a way that just really helps to get you laser focused to orientate yourself. But I've also witnessed where it can be a way that when you forget that you're a sovereign being and that you don't need religion, you don't need time, you don't need any other sort of overlay to keep you getting direct guidance and access to source, that also becomes a limitation. And I've seen this happen with other, schools of astrology, with other astrologers. Not that I'm, to clarify, I'm not putting shade on astrology at all because I love it. It's a great tool, but I can also see where, anything that we use, right, can also become something that we put in between our direct connection, right, to God. And this is where religion kind of comes in. And I have my own story around, of course, my experience with religion, my father being a preacher, my family, come from a family of born again Christians, and me being a witch, me practicing astrology and nature has brought up a lot of discussions, and how, throughout time, the feminine, the ways of nature, even astrology, right, has been, and sexuality has been kind of has been shamed, right, in being this. And I get it for why it has been, right, because anytime you put anything in between you and your direct relationship with God, it's a distraction, right? So as long as it is a way for you to align, you're good, you're golden. So anyway, I just wanted to clarify that. But coming back to, again, we have, what is your relationship to it, right? And in my relationship to this, I'm either getting a yes or a no in the moment, right? And with this being unconditional, now how do I want to invest in this relationship, right? And so, and I use this example a lot with for example, let's say, with homes, right? You get a house, right? And how do you appreciate something? When we appreciate something, we're building its value, right? When you appreciate something, that is, it's an alignment in values. It's saying, I love this enough that I want to invest my time, my energy. I want to appreciate you. I want to pour my love into you because I'm saying you're worth it, right? I'm saying I love you, right? And so, for example, with a home, how does a home appreciate in its value? We put money into it. We invest our time. We invest our money. We clean it, right? Or we update the fixtures, or we decorate it, right? And so that's how you appreciate something. If you're not investing your time and your attention and your love and whatever your love language is into something, are you really appreciating it, right? Or are you only looking at it for what you can get from it, as opposed to what can you give to it, right? Because when you're really in unconditional love, you're going to give. You're going to give, you're going to give, you're going to give without ever needing to get anything back, right? And that's the pure, that's when you know that you have a pure relationship to something, is because you're giving without needing anything in return. You're giving because what you're giving isn't really coming from you. It's coming from source. It's coming from God. It's coming from divinity. And you're just a channel that's bringing it through. And it's now starting to rain, right? So I'm gonna wrap this up here. But I wanted to share this with you because this is something that has guided me and has never steered me wrong. It's why I can say that I have the love of my life, that I have the relationship of my dreams to this day, and the things that I've been through, it's all been worth it. And I've led hundreds of other people through this as well, and so I know that it works. And I want to teach, if this is resonating with you, The Galaxy is My Runway is one of my courses that I'm offering. It's a month reset where I teach you the processes that bring you back to you, right? I bring you ways that help you to resolve your resistance to having what you want, to cultivating, your multifaceted heart, the relationship that you have to your desires, because you are your deepest burning desires. And if you don't have what it is that you desire, it's because on some level your relationship to that thing is off, right? And so this is teaching you and helping you to heal not only your relationship to your heart, but your relationship to everything that's in your life. So The Galaxy is My Runway, our first module with me actually begins June 30th. But as soon as you sign up, you get access to all of the material and the private Facebook group that's in there. There is a payment plan that's in there. So, but of course, if you pay in full, you get a nice discount. And it's I've used this so many times whenever I'm in my rough places, and this is how I know that it works. It's like I can go back to my own medicine and take my own medicine, and like the red carpet gets rolled out for me. Things like the panorama of the synchronicities of the multiverse, literally. And I'm not just saying this to like, it's real. It's like stuff that you didn't think was possible. Like, oh my God, I just fell off my unicorn. Like, I can't believe this is happening type stuff starts happening, because there's so much that we just don't see. And I did a whole video, you guys might want to check this out on YouTube, around like how to see the trees breathe, right? Without ayahuasca, without DMT, without mushrooms, without drugs, because there's so much that we have yet attuned ourselves to become aware of and to align ourselves with, because of our vibration and because of our subconscious patterns that are in the way as a veil. So once you lift the veil, it's another video on YouTube, Lifting the Veil. That's a really great intro that you guys can check out, all free for you on YouTube, that allows you to start attuning yourself to what is possible. The omniscopic opportunities that are available to us, right? And go check that stuff out, man. It's amazing, because we all have these powers. Every single one of us. I'm not special. I'm not doing stuff that you can't do. I'm doing stuff perhaps that you haven't done, right? Because of maybe how I've cultivated and practiced, right? And I've devoted and committed my life to doing these things because I said yes to myself, because I said yes to the God Goddess in me, because I'm not willing to let my reality in the external world dictate what I think is possible. No artist tolerates reality, Nietzsche, meaning everything that I see outside in the world, I know that that's Maya, right? Unless I'm the one that created it. And I've always created, we always create, we're always manifesting our world, right? But you are the author of your own story. You get to be the designer, the creator of your own story, right? But how do you do that? This is how you do it. And this is, that's what the Galaxy is My Runway all about. So it's a month long program. It's fucking amazing. It's beautiful. It's fun. If you guys, need any referrals or testimonials or questions around like other people who have led this through, I'd be more than happy to supply that to you. And again, that's my my month-long program. I have other programs that want more, right? That have maybe a stronger desire or a more burning commitment. Those are totally there for you. So again, if you have any questions about that, let me know. Starting to rain, so I'm going to wrap it up. I love you guys so much. Hi, Maria. Hi, Karen. Hi, Ali. Hi, Helen. Hey, Steven. Hey, Elvis. I love you guys so much. Mwah. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.